Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Got a quick heads up before we jump into today's story. I just launched a new YouTube channel called Cityscape Tales, where I'll be dropping even more stories that'll grab you. Please check it out. Hit that like button and subscribe, the link's in the description box. Alright, let's get started. I couldn't pinpoint the exact moment it happened. The shift when Sarah stopped being my Sarah. Maybe it was a slow burn, a bunch of tiny red flags I ignored because I didn't want to believe things were going south. Or maybe it was always lurking there, just waiting for the right excuse to explode. Either way, when she dropped the party bomb, I knew. It was a Thursday night in our Brooklyn apartment, the air thick with the smell of marinara. My marinara, simmering on the stove for the dinner I'd made. But Sarah barely touched her plate. Instead, her eyes were glued to her phone, a little smirk playing on her lips. I watched her for a beat, then broke the silence. Something good? She glanced up like she'd forgotten I was even in the room. Oh, just a text from Jessica. She's throwing a party this weekend. Not shocking. Sarah's college crew was always finding a reason to celebrate something, anything. Usually I didn't mind, but the way she avoided my eyes, there was more to this. Who's going to be there? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual, twirling spaghetti around my fork. She hesitated. Just a fraction of a second. The usual crew, I guess. I set my fork down. Including him? Her jaw tightened. Bingo. Yeah, part of the crew. So yeah, he'll be there. Her voice was too even, too practiced, like she'd rehearsed this line. Him. Her ex. Ethan. The guy she'd been tangled up with on and off for years before she and I got together. He was a landmine topic, not because I was some insecure guy, but because I knew his game. He was the type who lived for knowing he still had a hold on her. And if I was being honest, I wasn't sure Sarah was totally immune to it. You haven't mentioned him in ages, I said, keeping my tone neutral. She sighed, pushing her plate away. Because I knew you'd make it weird. I'm not making it weird, I said carefully. I'm just asking why you suddenly want to go to a party at his place. She crossed her arms, her voice taking on an edge. Because I'm allowed to have friends, Mike. Is that a problem? That's not what I'm saying. Well, it sure feels like it. Her voice was sharp, defensive, but that wasn't the real gut punch. The real blow was the look in her eyes. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even frustration. It was boredom. Like she'd already checked out of this conversation. Maybe even this whole damn marriage. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't about some party. This was about her testing the waters, pushing boundaries, seeing just how much I'd swallow. I took a slow breath. So, you're going, no matter what I say. She lifted her chin. Yes. Just like that. No apology, no attempt to smooth things over. Just a flat-out yes. Something shifted inside me then, something deep in my chest. I wasn't ready to name it, but I nodded. Okay. She blinked, clearly expecting a fight, a blow-up. Okay. I gave her a tight smile. Have fun. For the first time all night, she looked uneasy, and she should have been. Because walking into that party, she had no clue what was waiting for her. Sarah split without a backward glance. I stood at the kitchen window, watching her heels click down the Brooklyn sidewalk, her figure melting into the night, like she wasn't leaving behind everything we'd built together in this city. No rush, no hesitation, like she'd made her choice way before tonight. The cab disappeared down the street, and the apartment suddenly felt hollowed out, emptier than it ever had. I leaned against the counter, pressing my hands against the cool granite, like I needed something solid to hold on to. But the truth was, I'd already lost my grip on everything. It wasn't just tonight. This was the moment I knew, really knew, that she wasn't mine anymore. Maybe she hadn't been for a long time. I ran a hand down my face, my mind racing, piecing together all the signals I'd ignored, the distance, the way she'd laugh a little too loud at her texts, the extra effort she put into her outfits whenever she went out without me. She thought I was blind, but I wasn't. I'd just been waiting for her to prove me wrong, waiting for her to remember who we were before all this, whatever this was. But she didn't. She packed her clutch, did her hair, and walked straight out that door, knowing exactly where she was headed. To him. The thought landed like a sucker punch to the gut, but I didn't let it break me. I pushed off the counter and walked into the living room. The dim light from the lamp cast long shadows across the walls of our apartment. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt familiar. Our wedding photo sat on the bookshelf, me in my suit, her in white, both of us grinning like we had forever stretched out in front of us. I picked it up, running my thumb over the glass. 6 years. 6 years of shared mornings, late-night talks, weekend trips upstate, inside jokes whispered in crowded New York bars. 6 years of believing in something that had been crumbling right in front of me. I set the frame down, this time face down. I didn't want to look at it anymore. Instead, I grabbed my phone and made a choice. Sarah wasn't the only one who could rewrite the rules. I wasn't going to sit at home like the fool she thought I was. Tonight, I was going to make damn sure she never forgot what she walked away from. The drive wasn't long, 10 minutes tops across town. I didn't even have to think about where I was going. It was automatic. The neon glow of the bar sign flickered against the dark New York sky as I pulled into the parking lot. I'd been here before, back in the day. Before marriage, before responsibilities, before I let myself get tangled up with a woman who no longer saw me. I stepped inside. The familiar hum of music and conversation washed over me. The place was packed. Friday night. No surprise. People laughing, clinking glasses, living in the moment. And that's exactly what I needed to do. Sliding onto a bar stool, I caught the bartender's eye. Casey, she smirked, wiping down the counter. Well, 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 she said. Haven't seen you in ages. Thought you went all domestic. I let out a low chuckle. Something like that. She raised an eyebrow. And yet, here you are. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I grabbed the drink she slid in front of me, took a sip, and let the bourbon burn settle in. Yeah, I said finally. Here I am. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting. I wasn't hoping. I wasn't sitting at home wondering if Sarah was thinking about me while she stood in her ex's living room, sipping some fancy cocktail and laughing at old jokes. No, I was done. But just as I settled into that thought, my phone buzzed. I pulled it out, expecting maybe a text from a buddy, but when I saw the name on the screen, my lips curled into a smirk. Sarah. Not a call. A text. "Where are you?" I leaned back, rolling the glass between my fingers. She'd left this apartment hours ago, barely giving me a second glance. And now she was asking where I was. Interesting. I didn't reply. Not yet. Because I had a feeling this night was far from over. I stared at my phone screen for a moment, letting the text sink in. "Where are you?" It wasn't just a question. It was a crack in her confidence. Sarah had walked out that door so sure of herself, like she had all the power, like I was just going to sit around waiting for her. But now, she was looking for me. I could almost picture her standing in the middle of that party, scanning the crowd, expecting me to be home, expecting me to be predictable. Not tonight. I slid my phone back into my pocket and lifted my drink to my lips, taking my time. No rush. If she wanted to know where I was, she could wait. Casey, the bartender, leaned on the counter, smirking at me. "That look on your face," she said. "Tell me you just got a very interesting text." I chuckled, swirling the amber liquid in my glass. "Something like that." She tilted her head. "Ex checking in on you?" I raised an eyebrow. "Not yet, but she might be soon." She let out a low whistle. "Oh, this is getting good." I didn't say anything, just smirked and took another sip. The truth was, I wasn't just ignoring Sarah's text to mess with her. I was actually enjoying the silence. It had been a long time since I felt like I was the one in control. The second text came 20 minutes later. "Are you home?" I laughed under my breath. Home? No, I wasn't home. But it was cute that she thought I would be. I imagined her standing by Ethan's kitchen island, drink in hand, phone in the other. Was she starting to feel guilty, uncertain? Maybe just annoyed that I wasn't at her beck and call. I still didn't reply. Instead, I got up, stretched my shoulders, and left the bar. The New York night air was cool against my skin as I walked to my car. I wasn't drunk, just relaxed, clear-headed, and I had an idea. If Sarah wanted to play games, I could play too. I took my time getting home. Drove slower than usual. Stopped at a bodega for a coffee even though I didn't really need one. By the time I pulled into the driveway of our building, another text was waiting for me. "Are you ignoring me?" I sat in my car for a moment, letting the headlights illuminate the front of the building. Then finally, I responded, "No, just busy." It was simple, vague, and I knew it would eat at her, almost instantly. The typing bubbles appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. I smirked. She's thinking. Good. A full minute passed before she finally responded. "Busy with what?" There it was. The shift. For the first time in a long time, Sarah was the one wondering, waiting. I could have answered her. I could have told her exactly where I'd been, let her know that she wasn't the only one who could go out and live her life without a care. But I didn't. Instead, I turned off my phone, got out of the car, and walked inside. Let her sit with the uncertainty for once. The apartment was dark when I stepped inside. the only light coming from the faint glow of the city outside. It was quiet, too quiet. I stood there for a moment, letting the silence settle around me, feeling the weight of everything that had happened tonight. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even really hurt anymore. I was just done. I walked over to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and leaned against the counter. My phone sat face down beside me. No vibrations, no notifications. For the first time in years, Sarah was the one waiting on me, and I was going to let her. I took my time getting ready for bed, changed into a fresh t-shirt, brushed my teeth, stretched out my shoulders. My body was relaxed, but my mind was sharp, clearer than it had been in months. Sarah had spent so much time making me question myself, making me doubt my own instincts, and now she was the one questioning me. I climbed into bed, staring up at the ceiling. The spot next to me was empty, but for the first time in a long time, it didn't bother me. She made her choice. Now she had to live with it. 2:37 a.m. I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. Took me a second to register what was happening. The room was dark, the glow of the screen casting long shadows across the walls. I blinked, reaching for the phone, squinting at the name on the screen. Sarah. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then silence. I exhaled slowly, setting the phone back down. A few seconds later, another buzz. This time a text. "Are you awake?" I stared at the words for a moment before locking the screen. I didn't know her response. Not yet. 3:04 a.m. Another buzz. I sighed, rolling onto my side, checking the message. "I just got home. Can we talk?" I let my eyes drift toward the bedroom door. Sure enough, I heard the faint creak of the front door shutting, followed by the soft click of her heels on the hardwood floor. She was home, and she was nervous. I smirked to myself. Good. I didn't rush. I stretched, sat up, and finally, after a long pause, I responded. "Busy." It was the same word I'd sent earlier, short, simple, and enough to get under her skin. I waited. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Then finally, busy with what? I could almost see her standing in the kitchen, staring at her phone, frustration written all over her face. She had expected me to be home, to be asleep, to be waiting for her. But I wasn't. I set my phone down, leaned back against the pillows, and closed my eyes. She could wonder all night for all I cared. I'd let her sit in the silence. "I just don't understand why you're acting like this." That made me laugh. I set my coffee down, crossed my arms, and met her gaze. "Like what?" She gestured vaguely, frustration flickering in her eyes. "Like you don't care." I leaned forward, resting my hands on the kitchen island. Should I? Her eyes widened slightly, caught off guard by my bluntness. And that's when I saw it. The crack. The tiny flicker of doubt in her expression. She hadn't expected this. She had expected me to be upset, to demand answers, to play the wounded husband. But I wasn't playing that role anymore. She exhaled sharply, shaking her head. "I don't know what you're trying to prove, but—" I cut her off. "I'm not trying to prove anything, Sarah." She blinked, unsettled. I just finally see things clearly now. Her brows furrowed. See what? I smiled, but there was no warmth behind it. That I've been the only one in this marriage. Actually, in this marriage. She froze, and in that moment, I knew she felt it too. The shift. The power wasn't in her hands anymore. For the first time since all this started, she wasn't the one pulling the strings. Sarah gripped her coffee mug tightly, like she needed something solid to hold on to. For years, she had steered this ship. I had been patient, understanding, willing to talk things through, even when it felt like I was the only one trying. But last night changed something, and now she was the one feeling that uneasy, gnawing uncertainty. I let the silence stretch between us, sipping my coffee like I had all the time in the world. I wasn't going to break first. I wasn't going to chase after an explanation she wasn't ready to give. Let her sit in it. Finally, she spoke. I don't know why you're acting like this, she muttered, setting her cup down. Like what? I asked, feigning ignorance. She sighed, rubbing her temple. Like you don't care. Like none of this matters to you. A low chuckle escaped me. That's funny, coming from you. Her eyes snapped up. What's that supposed to mean? I tilted my head, studying her. Sarah, you walked out of this apartment last night without a second thought. You knew exactly what you were doing. You wanted to go, and you didn't care how I felt about it. So why does it bother you so much that I went out too? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. No answer. I could see the calculations running through her mind, the way she was trying to find a response that would put her back in control. But there wasn't one. For the first time, she was at a loss. She crossed her arms and leaned against the counter. You're twisting this, she finally said. I laughed, this time louder. I'm twisting it. Sarah, you made a choice. Now you have to live with it. She exhaled sharply, turning away, running a hand through her hair. You're impossible, she muttered under her breath. I shrugged. Maybe. Or maybe I just finally woke up. Silence again. Heavy, unshakable. Sarah tapped her fingers against the counter, clearly agitated. I could see the wheels turning, the way she was trying to find a way to shift the blame. But it wasn't working this time. Not anymore. She turned back to me, her expression unreadable. I didn't do anything wrong. I smirked. Did I say you did? Her eyes narrowed. You're trying to make me feel guilty. I took another sip of coffee, unfazed. If you feel guilty, that's on you. She huffed, pushing off the counter and storming toward the living room. A moment later, I heard her sink onto the couch, followed by a heavy exhale. Good. Let her sit with it. I wasn't the one chasing her anymore. She was chasing me. And it was about time. Sarah sat on the couch, arms crossed, staring out the window, like she was waiting for some kind of revelation to hit her. But there was nothing left to say, nothing left to fight about. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. I finished my coffee, rinsed the mug, and leaned against the sink, watching her from across the room. The woman who used to be my best friend, my partner, my person, now just someone I didn't recognize anymore. She finally turned her head toward me, her expression softer, hesitant. Mike, she started, voice quieter now. I raised a brow. Yeah? Her lips parted, like she wanted to say something real, something meaningful. But nothing came out. And that's when I knew. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't remorseful. She was just afraid of losing her safety net, losing me. But I was already gone. I grabbed my keys from the counter and made my way toward the door. She sat up straighter, brows furrowing. Where are you going? I smirked, shaking my head. Don't worry about it. For the first time in years, I wasn't weighed down by her choices, by the constant need to make things work when I was the only one trying. I wasn't stuck waiting for her to figure out if I was enough. I was enough. I just hadn't been with the right person. As I stepped outside, the cool New York morning air filled my lungs, crisp and refreshing. I didn't know exactly where I was going, but I knew one thing. I was walking towards something better, and this time, I wasn't looking back.